Morning, you beautiful little rascals. IGN, of all places, has put out a video titled The AAA Video Game Bubble Has Burst, which is kind of weird considering I feel like every time they talk about AAA games, they say it's better than it's ever been. So they put out this video and we decided to react to it on stream. Hopefully you like it, and if you want more content like this, make sure to let me know in the comments. I'm really trying hard to make sure that the stream and the second channel are killing it. All right, y'all stay beautiful. Mwah.
Players, it could be argued we're in one of the greatest times for gaming. There's incredible breadth of choice across.
Okay, whoa, easy. No one's arguing that this is the greatest time in video games ever, except hipsters who are just yapping away on Twitter. Buddy, physical games are absolute garbage. You get nothing with the games these days. Your single player games need to be connected to the online world. That's literally 90% of the games. When you boot up your stupid game, it gives you a billion menus that just ask you about 10,000 questions. Do you want a performance mode? Do you want accessibility on? Do you want to be inverted? Do you want all this stuff? Okay, then you go into tutorial for like 20 years and you do all that stuff. So that's just single player games. God forbid you get one single player game like this, like Astrobot, and you're like, oh my god, we can actually play a platformer again for the first time in 20 years. This is freaking fantastic. It's freaking goose-tastic. But all the rest of them, what are we talking about? Okay? What are we talking about? Let's be real. What are we talking about? Some cool indie games, but, you know, when people are talking gaming, let's not play the game where we say, oh, gaming's better than it ever been because indie games are leading. Yeah, there's some great indie games, but let's be real. The vast majority of sales are coming from AAA, and AAA has been disappointing us, okay? Let's relax. Let's relax. I really hate that argument. What are we talking about? All right, Goose, relax. Take a breath. Take a breath. Take a breath.
Across consoles, handhelds, and PCs made ever more accessible through gaming subscription services like Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Plus. But from an industry perspective, things could not be more dire. More and more studios.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's exactly my point. That's exactly my point. That's exactly my point.
Studios seem to be closing, original IPs are being scrapped mid-development, and vast legions of game developers, programmers, artists, and animators have been cut loose.
Exactly.
To put it simply, the AAA video game bubble has...
How in God's name is this industry considered healthy when literally everyone and their dog loses their jobs every other day? Okay? Seems like a little bit of a problem. And also, real quick, as far as industry spending, if you were to say a AAA game went up to the hundreds of millions, I could be like, okay, I could get that. I could see how that would be a thing. There's a lot of employees. These are high-skilled employees with high salaries, a lot of utilities, usually in downtown offices in a major metropolitan city that's expensive to live in. I can see how you can get up to that. That being said, when a game like Spider-Man 2 that reuses the exact same world has the exact same characters is $300 million. Buddy, we're at a little bit of a problem here. We got a little bit of a problem. Am I wrong, chat? Am I wrong? Like, yeah, Spider-Man 2 has a bunch of new story stuff. But, bro, where's that 300 million going? Where?
Finally burst. Across the past 2 years, over 23,000 jobs in the video game industry were lost, with a staggering 6,000 in January 2024 alone. Over 30 video game development studios have ceased operations.
And real quick, okay, let's just call a spade a spade. A lot of these jobs being lost are straight up because other companies are buying other companies, namely like Microsoft buying like half the industry. And if I recall, the yappers online were like, we want Microsoft to buy Activision Blizzard. Oh, wait, you're telling me they don't need 3 HR divisions? Oh, wait, you're telling me they don't need 3 marketing divisions? But that would mean layoffs, and that's bad. Like, obviously, dude, come on.
Operations, including Arcane Austin, Volition, and most recently Firewalk Studios. What's worse is this trend only shows signs of continuing rather than diminishing.
Dude, shout out Volition. Dude, Volition freaking killed with Red Faction Guerrilla. That's the OG Saints Row dev too, right? Dude. Volition was... Oh, dude, you remember Red Faction Guerrilla? What a game. Wasn't that 360? How in God's name did that run on 360? And where were we at now? And we don't have anything that's remotely as destructible as Red Faction Guerrilla. Even if it was on Xbox One and my memory's off. How have we not gotten anything like that?
Finishing.
Madness.
So how did we get here? Well, some analysts have concluded these closures and redundancies are a necessary remedy to companies having overextended themselves in response to inflated demand in the market during the COVID-19 pandemic. While that's undeniably a factor, that's just one of many issues that have been gestating for years.
First off, that's true. That's true. Literally, if you look at COVID in the stock market, like the amount of influx that all companies got in 2021 was such a ridiculous high that like the economy was booming in such a way we hadn't seen. Like it was like skyrocketing in 2021. And so everybody's stocks were up on the up. Like whatever like you can think of a stock, it was like 5x. I mean, some companies went up like I'm talking 20x to what they are today. Literally like 2 years ago. And because of that, they're hiring like crazy. And let's not forget one of the main things they were hiring for in the 2021 region. I don't know if you guys remember, like, because I feel like it's just a blip and it just went away. You remember everybody was hiring for the metaverse? Everybody was doing metaverse. Everyone. I mean, Epic is still somewhat doing it. And I mean, obviously Meta called themselves Meta. But like, bro, it was huge. NFTs were rampant. Everything was going on. People were spending money left and right. People were spending money on JPEGs. They had so much money they didn't even know what to do. They were burning it.
Within the AAA project bubble. Just 5 years ago, AAA projects' average budget ranged from $50 to $150 million. Today, the minimum average is $200 million. Call of Duty's new benchmark.
This is the thing that, dude, it doesn't make sense. Okay? Like, chat, if I make a YouTube video, okay, in 2010, the tools are dramatically worse. Like the editing tools are worse, the cameras are worse, the microphones are worse, the software is worse. Back then people like what was put out into YouTube was ghetto. Okay? It was ghetto. It took forever to put out. Like, if you were going to get something high quality, you needed a whole team to do all that stuff. So most YouTubers did casual stuff, okay? If I did any of the content that was done 10 years ago with the tools I have today, it'd be cheaper, faster, undeniably, and it would look 10,000 times better. So take that and apply it to video games. How in God's name are video games more expensive? How? The tools are 10,000 times better. The people are 10,000 times smarter. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. I just don't get it. Multiplayer stuff, sure. It adds a bunch of complexity, but bro, like Spider-Man 2 is the one that the one that broke me. Spider-Man 2, I was like, how is this $300 million? Especially because you reuse the same world. It's New York with an additional zone added on top. But effectively, it's the same world. You know, it's the same people you're fighting. It's like everything's basically the same. Am I taking crazy pills? I don't get it. Dude, I really don't get it. And whatever they're spending the money on, it's not like they're making the games worse because the majority of them are mostly broken on the AAA side. They're half-baked. The store always seems to work. Did you guys ever notice that? Every game that you can think of that's broken, the store always works. Isn't that weird? Isn't that funny? Ha ha. Bro,
is $300 million, with Activision admitting in the Competition and Market Authority's report on AAA development that it now takes the efforts of 1.5 studios just to complete the annual Call of Duty title. But it's far from just Call of Duty facing ballooning costs. In the same CMA report, an anonymous publisher admits that development costs for one of its franchises reached $660 million, with $550 million of marketing costs on top, which makes it a
What? Did he say 500 million?
$160 million, with $550 million of marketing costs on top, which makes it a
Bro, what are you spending $550 million on marketing for? What? What? Because effectively, the gaming audience that would buy Cyberpunk 2077, it's not mom and pop watching TV, watching the Super Bowl, watching ads while they're on the treadmill at the gym. It's Billy and Steve who are on the internet, on Reddit all day, and are looking at videos like IGN. Like, what are you spending millions of dollars? Mountain Dew Double XP? I at least hope. But no way, like, Keanu Reeves must have cost them a pretty penny. They had Idris Elba too. They had a lot of, like, actors that they paid off. But for, bro, $550 million? Brother, cut that in half. Give it to, like, talented content creators. Buddy, like, that's insane, dude. That's $500 million. Do you know how many people you could help with $500 million? Didn't that company also go through layoffs due to the bugs from Cyberpunk 2077? How do you also rush through that game with all that marketing? Because the game launched buggy too, right? By the way, we're going to stream that game at some point. I haven't played it. I want to play it. We're going to stream it.
$1.2 billion game. To put that into perspective, Minecraft, the world's best-selling video game of all time, only broke $3 billion last year, and keep in mind that's what it made since it launched way back in 2011. The realities of these budgets mean entire publishing houses are massively overstretched and are now desperately facing the consequences. If their developers' huge projects don't make money immediately, they gotta go. Sega's sci-fi shooter...
This is the problem with these giant publishers. They basically make games blindfolded. They have no idea what sells. They don't look at trends. They don't look at the mod scene to basically see what's working. If a publisher actually looked at the mod scene and saw what was working, they would have been the first ones to come up with Battle Royale. It started as an Arma 3 mod, Dota mod, like Counter-Strike mod. They're mods. Team Fortress 2 mod. Like, that's Valve's whole thing. Valve just looks at the mods and then goes, this is really fun. People keep coming back to this. The retention is high. This is like a free test. Okay, let's make this. And then they do it and they make it high quality. And then people go, yeah, I'm not going to play the mod. I'm going to play the really high quality version of this. That is a fully fledged game. I mean, the biggest L in the entire industry, as far as I'm concerned, is Ubisoft. No offense to people who work at Ubisoft, but the decisions you made are just like effectively like some of the most ridiculous wastes of money I've ever seen in my life. I don't think Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown had to fail. I think the fact that you put it on Epic Game Store, you locked it there, you put the price up to like, what was it? Wasn't it $60? Anything above 40, too high for what that type of game is. Like, you're not looking at the market trends. You're thinking you can just add a premium because you're Ubisoft on Prince of Persia, basically a dead franchise? Buddy, relax, okay? Number one. Number two, if you're going to use the prince, use the prince. Obvious. Okay? Skull and Bones, the same thing. Like, dude, you saw it worked with Assassin's Creed. And then you decided to not continue it with Black Flag 2. Why wouldn't you save the money? Instead of building something brand new from scratch, a brand new franchise, why not just make a sequel to Assassin's Creed Black Flag that people love? They love that character. They love that world. Why not do that? Reuse some assets. If games are getting that more expensive, you need to be that much more smart. And furthermore, in the content creation space, because it is a high-risk scenario as well, it's a zero-sum game, meaning when I win, someone else loses. When someone clicks my video, that means they didn't click someone else's video. It's a zero-sum game. Okay, so effectively, what I do and what a lot of content creators do is I test. I put out shorts, I put out tweets, I put out Instagram posts, I put out stories, I put out a bunch of stuff. Like last year, I put out 12 pieces of content total, maybe 16, okay? And I did well. This year, I put out, I think I'm closing in on 600. And now that's not counting tweets. Like, that's just video content. So, I did a lot of tests. It's not like I have like a whole team behind me, but if I had a team that was costing me hundreds of millions of dollars a year to build games, you bet your freaking juicy buns I'd be testing that left and right before I ever released a game. For example, an easy way to test it, Far Cry Blood Dragon. It was an easy way to test that. It's a small version. It's a tiny little thing. $20, $10. Just put it out there. The point isn't to get rich. The point is to test the idea and expand. Just think about that, Ubisoft. Make a tiny version of what you want to test. Sell it for $5, $10. You're not trying to get rich. Over time, I'm sure you'll break even over a 10-year period. But you'll learn what works, what doesn't, and you also give your developers a creative avenue to test things so that you can expand in a fully fledged game. You know, like who told you to do Rainbow Six Siege Extraction? Who told you to do that? Who told you to do that? Makes no sense. Skull and Bones. Who told you to do that? Why would you take the risk with Star Wars Outlaws? Why would you do that? Why? It makes no sense. These companies are wild. And like Halo's the same thing. You know, the multiple times we said on the show with Halo. I personally think classic Halo is a better playing Halo. It just is more strategic. It's a better playing Halo. The Halo we have today is chasing the Call of Duty trend, regardless of how much they walked it back. It is a less strategic game. Okay? And all you have to do to confirm your suspicion that modern is better or worse than classic is put out a playlist day and date with the game. But they waited. They did do it, technically. They did it like just a couple weeks back. But it was like, what, dude? 3 years after the game released? Brother, what test are you running now? What test are you running now? You're not even thinking. You guys are, like, when I say you guys, I'm talking to these publishers. You guys are acting like you're not, like you don't have $100 billion coming out of your pocket every year. You're acting like a bunch of Twitter morons. Like, you need to take these type of decisions more seriously when you have hundreds of employees. I mean, Ubisoft has 20,000 employees. Nintendo has 7,000. Valve has like 400. Valve has the Steam Deck, Valve has Steam, Valve has Half-Life, Valve has the VR stuff, Valve has Team Fortress 2, Counter-Strike, Dota. If you don't see Valve as a legitimate threat and as the way to do things, they use tests like mod stuff. Like, stop thinking, you AAA publishing companies. Stop it. You can't do it. Just stop it. Just take a break. Just look at what Valve does. They're one of the best for a reason. Yeah, they're a well-oiled private company because they make, like, Gabe is not silly. Gabe makes decisions based off logic. These companies make decisions based off feeling. There's no way you can tell me, you can sit me down. If I'm CEO of Sony, there's no way you or anyone in the chat or anyone watching this on YouTube can look me in the eye and say, you know what? I think it's time we did a hero shooter with no campaign and we spend millions of dollars. It will be the next Star Wars. Are you in? And I say yes. I said, buddy, get your Concord keister out of here. Get him out of here, buddy. It's disgusting. These guys don't It's just the incompetence in the gaming industry is just pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. And when I say gaming industry, I typically I'm saying AAA. Indie has great stuff. Indie has problems too, but nowhere near like AAA.
Super game Hyenas was in development at Creative Assembly for 7 years, and just as it was publicly playable for the first time via alpha testing, it was promptly cancelled. The reason? Sega preemptively concluded that Hyenas couldn't make its money back.
They were right. First off, they were right. Number two, they should have done this way... Dude, 7 years to test. For instance, I'm putting out a YouTube video that is... I've been at it for like 2.5 months, and that's just because a bunch of things happen. It's too long. The juice isn't worth to squeeze. For what I'm building, it's not worth to squeeze. Now, if you're going to make an actual sequel to Halo 3, and you're going to take 7 years, or Half-Life 3, the juice is worth the squeeze. You have the data. You have the sales still coming in for Half-Life 2, Halo 3, all that stuff, right? A no-name? Bro, 7 years? What are we talking about? Your game should be testable and ready to go in a year. It just should. Give me a vertical, put it out there. Get it tested. Insane, dude.
Blizzard's survival project Odyssey had a similar trajectory. Odyssey would have been the studio's first new IP in 8 years, and given the market's love for games like Minecraft and Rust, such a gaming titan should have undoubtedly made waves with this project. When Microsoft...
No. You know what people who really like crafting are gonna play? Minecraft. By that logic, X-Defiant should be it should be doing quite well. In fact, it was canceled though. So, when people want something that exists today and it's a high quality product with a long history of the franchise being, let's say, dependable. Okay? Minecraft's been around, we're on 15 years now? Dependable. Call of Duty, 20 years, dependable. World of Warcraft, 20 years, dependable. You're not going to be able to create something that will steal that audience by creating the same game of something new. You will not do it. It's insane, dude. How do these guys have the gall to think this will happen? You will not dethrone Fortnite. You will not dethrone Call of Duty. You will not dethrone Minecraft. You have to make something new. Halo was a juggernaut until COD 4. It made something new. Boom. That's it. The world went to Call of Duty. And then they lost their minds for a little bit, right? Same thing with the Battle Royale scene. It came out of nowhere from the mod scene. Arma 3 mods, you had your H1Z1, you had the culling, you had all this stuff. PUBG gets hot, does it the best. Boom, it's there. They timed it. They own that market. Fortnite comes, does it even better, better tech. Boom, they own that market. But had Fortnite come out and been an exact clone of PUBG and not been their own cartoony style, I do not think it would have done well. People would have been like, I'm going to play PUBG. They may have had a chance back then, to be fair, given PUBG was kind of a broken mess. But, bro, it's not going to happen.
Acquired Activision Blizzard, though, the project was swiftly killed with little reason publicly given beyond inconveniences in switching engines to increase.
It was made on a mobile engine. They were making a AAA game on a mobile engine. That is a fact. You can check the sources. That is a fact. And they've been working on it for what, 7 years? 7 years, mobile engine for a AAA game.
Increased player count on the servers. These
of an insanely populated niche, crafting games, crafting survival games. If someone came to me at Blizzard and said, we're going to make a survival crafting game, spend 7 years, I would say we're Blizzard Entertainment. We make niches, dude. That's our thing. We're going to take the MMO genre, we're going to rip it to shreds, and we're going to make it a simplified, more accessible thing. Crafting stuff, it's simplified. Minecraft is as brain dead as you can get it. What are we doing here? We're Blizzard. We're better than this. It's wild.
Examples of the current AAA.
Yeah, I never know which to say, niche or niche. People are saying niche. I used to say niche. Now I just switch it up.
Publishing call reflect a deep-rooted fear to engage with anything new and original. Publishers perhaps more risk-averse than ever to stray out of their established IP safety bars. But even well-known IP that could be worth millions in sales and revenue is being left to rot. Despite owning Infamous, Jak and Daxter, Killzone, Resistance, and Sly Cooper, to name a few entries in PlayStation's sprawling dormant library, Sony CFO Hiroki Totoki recently claimed the company lacks enough original IP to consolidate itself as a true gaming powerhouse.
Yeah, you talking to him?
What kind of sad, depressing world is this industry in, man? These franchises don't need to be blockbuster, multi-million dollar. Like, you're telling me you need to spend $300 million on a Jak and Daxter game? Bro, you don't. But I guarantee you, if you made it small, like, look at the Toys for Bob guys who made the Crash Bandicoot games and the Spyro remakes. Did fantastic. What? Yeah, look at the Astrobot game. I don't think it's it's selling in a way that like a PUBG is or a Minecraft, but they don't all have to. You want to build enough great catalogs to get people to come to your consoles, so then you can take 30% off every single transaction, and then you make a bulk load of money from that. So, what are we doing? You don't need them all to be mega hits. Like, there's a principle called the Pareto principle, where 20% of your inputs are 80% of your outputs. It's a well-known principle that is effectively, like, you just find it everywhere, which means 20% of Sony's games, Microsoft's games, will end up being 80% of their profits. It's just how that stuff works. But these guys are acting like that principle is not a well-known thing. And they're trying to make 100% of their games make 100% of their profit. It's borderline like insanity. Nintendo's a perfect example. Nintendo puts out so many games. If we actually looked at the catalog of games they put out, right? They got the Mario and Luigi Brotherhood games. They have the Pikmin games. They have the Metroid games. They have Star Fox games. They have the Mario Wonder games. But in reality, what's really selling is Smash Brothers and Mario Kart and Zelda. Mario Odyssey 2, but really it's Mario Kart is the one. This is 20% of their input is equating to 80% of their profits. Like, that's it. And if we're being real, Mario Kart is like Mario Kart that is out on the Switch today is the Wii U game. They made it for Wii U, not Switch. And then they just ported it to Switch and then added all the DLC. That's it. It's a Wii U game. Nintendo is a genius when it comes to this stuff. They put out a bunch of high quality, tiny little things all over the place. Remember Captain Toad? Hey, if it hits, if it doesn't, it doesn't. And they can include a bunch of little tiny mini games in their main games to test more stuff. Nintendo could just remake their entire arsenal for the next 20 years and definitely 10 years and be safe. For whatever reason. Oh, man.
What Totoki may mean is that Sony's older catalog of library IP does not fit the mold of what every publisher has been mindlessly chasing for the better part of the decade.
The only place I think you can actually realistically copy and get away with it, if you do it well, is if you copy a closed system that does not have the accessibility to scale. Meaning, if you copied a Mario, if you copied a Zelda, if you copied a Smash Brothers properly, not like PlayStation All-Stars did, although I don't think it was a bad game, but there was some good stuff there. If you copied those games properly, one-to-one, and put it on PlayStation, Xbox, PC, whatever, like a wider audience, so you have access to scaling, you have a good chance of success there. And we've seen that with Multiversus, heavily successful despite most people not even liking the game, right? We've seen it with Darksiders. Darksiders, when that came out, that got a huge number of praise because it effectively took the World of Warcraft art style for their cover art, which got everybody hyped, and a lot of their art inside was inspired heavily from Warcraft. And then the entire game was basically an Ocarina clone. That's what it was. It was a Zelda. And it got so much love, it spawned 2 more sequels. So this stuff can work. but you got to do it strategically. So I would copy Nintendo. Personally, I have no idea why these companies don't copy Nintendo, specifically Microsoft. With Microsoft having Game Pass and access to, like let's be honest, Game Pass works fantastic for families. It works fantastic for families. The fact that Microsoft doesn't have their own kart racer, they just pretty much inherited it from Crash Team Racing. But like before that, the fact that they just never even did it, or they didn't make Banjo, racing, they didn't make a Banjo platformer for those kids, for that family audience, insane.
Next big live service money printer. It's difficult to imagine much fanfare for a Sly Cooper reboot where Bentley and Murray are purchased to play, grand heists or season pass bonuses, and worlds are delivered half-baked instead of fully formed. It's undeniable that on some level the video game market has changed forever because of this live service model. New video games don't just have to compete with new rivals, but somehow find space in an increasingly crowded market dominated by decade-old titles like Fortnite and Grand Theft Auto Online.
Exactly.
Games which will continue to hold higher player counts than many of the best sellers of the last few years. But live service titles require investment of not just money, but also time to find their audience, neither of which was afforded to Firewalk Studios' Concord. The crew of Concord's North Star...
Because you can't start there. You just can't start with your own live service game out of nowhere. Like, you just can't. And if anyone has, it's the exception to the rule. Bro, you cannot start there and spend hundreds of $1,000,000 on something no one knows. You're just burning your money.
Star will never fly again.
The devs for Crash Team Racing was Naughty Dog. I don't know if Mr. Danny Lemon's messing with me. He's a little rascal.
The recent fate of Concord's Firewalk Studios serves as a microcosm for the increasingly bleak outlook for the next few years in video game development. Concord was Firewalk's first game, its baby in many ways. An 8-year development bolstered by a Sony acquisition and a reported cash injection of $200+ million. PlayStation reportedly believed it...
Bro. For $200 million, could you not make a Jack 4, a Sly Cooper, and Jack X Racing 2? All that under $200 million. Could you not? And would those three consistently have collectively made more money than Concord?
Had the next Star Wars-esque franchise on its hands. But the game struggled significantly across both its beta testing period and launch, and was soon completely shut down by Sony just weeks after it was released, with Firewalk closed for business shortly thereafter. Concord...
It's tricky, right? Because here's the thing. These games are forced to launch free-to-play because things like Fortnite are free-to-play. You know? But the problem with launching free-to-play is your game looks cheap. It doesn't look valuable. It looks like shovelware. It's like you valued it at nothing. Especially coming right out the gate. That's the problem with free-to-play. I think free-to-play works when you're a known entity that can provide success. But when you're not known, free-to-play just looks like you're a worthless, like, why would I give you any of my time when you're just not even valuing yourself at anything? Free-to-play to me just seems like you're just going to gouge me with prices, and I don't know who you are. At least I know these companies well enough. I've been with them for years, and if they're going to screw me, I can see it coming a mile away. I have no idea. You know?
Concord's downfall happened faster than any other failed game of the live service era.
Don't joke about something like this.
Just a decade earlier, though, a similar disaster was plaguing Blizzard's Diablo 3. The crippling Error 37 message made the game unplayable, and fans worldwide decreed the absolute failure to launch. Soon after, the game's real money auction house left players with a foul taste in their mouth, and Diablo 3's reputation was roasting in the fires. Instead of abandoning it, Blizzard repaired the game, removed the auction house, and then fundamentally upgraded and evolved it to Diablo 3 2.0 with its Reaper of Souls expansion, finally cementing its comeback as a brilliant game. It's a similar story to what we saw with CD Projekt Red's hard-fought battle to win Cyberpunk 2077 fans back after a disastrous launch. If Concord's alleged $200+ million budget had been lowered and the project direction refocused as a spark for a new universe rather than a big bang, it doesn't seem hard to believe that it could have found an audience with some Blizzard or CDP.
No, it would not have found an audience. It wouldn't have. Because effectively those games, like Cyberpunk, the idea was so hot. It was hot from day one. If you guys remember, when Cyberpunk was actually announced, it was just like a job posting, and that was hot. The idea was hot. So the potential was there. There was not a single second of Concord that was hot. There was not a single second. Koromaru _Ali, you're a beautiful individual. You're goose-tasting. Quite frankly, I'm happy that you're here. Let's all send some love to Koromaru for the 100 bits. Absolute stallion. Concord was never gonna. It just, not the way they did it. They could have started with a campaign again, but it's just like too risky. And also, let's be real. Gaming companies, for the most part, 90% of them can't write a good story to save their lives. Like, chat, real quick. Name me a story that in a video game that emotionally affected you. One story. Just give me one. Anything. Because there's not much. First off, Mr. Danny Lemon saying Simpsons didn't run. The man's getting banned 7 ways to Sunday. Okay? Red Dead is the one I assumed. Spider-Man PS4, 1,000%. I'm with you on that. To me, I think Spider-Man PS4 is a better story than the movies. Uncharted 2, 1,000%. Ghost of Tsushima, 1,000%. A lot of Sony stuff, right? But that's not that many games. Like, there's not that many games. You know? And if I pressed you on what the story was, I don't know if most of you would be able to tell me what the story was. Or you just had a really amazing experience through it. Like, that's the thing. You know what I'm saying? There's not that many, like, you know, in Sixth Sense where you find out the twist. I don't want to spoil it in case there's one person who's like, oh, I never saw it. I was about to see it, and then you went and twisted it, and now I'm never gonna see it. Thank you, Mr. Gooseman. The closest thing I can think of that in video games was the BioShock twist. That was it. That was it. You know? I haven't played Deus Ex 1999, but I've been wanting to for a long time. That could be a great stream game. Next time we do Sub Sunday, we need to post that. Yeah, Uncharted for me, I couldn't tell you the story of any of the Uncharteds, but the banter specifically of 2, I do remember 2 a lot more than the other ones because 2 is my favorite. But, I have heard good things about Soma actually. But overall, the majority of video games, like, stories are bad.
PR like shepherding from Sony. Many projects akin to Concord could be the medium-sized successes they deserve to be if not for the financial corners these publishers find themselves painted into.
Endless rage!
You cannot say that you are painted in a financial corner and spent $200 million over 6 years of development time on a game that no one's ever heard of. You got the money.
And really, maybe some publishers should consider steering clear of these financial quarters entirely. Gamers are beginning to wane interest in these monolithic projects. You need only look at a top-rated games of 2024 list, while 2023...
No. People aren't interested in Dragon Age the Veilguard because Dragon Age the Veilguard is interested in not being a game. It's interested in trying to make you feel a certain way. That's why people aren't interested in it. Okay? I mean, look at Mass Effect The Legacy Collection. People were pretty hyped to play that. Because those games are freaking goated. People want old BioWare back. They don't want this new BioWare. And quite frankly, Dragon Age Inquisition was a banger.
Pre's award lists were littered with AAA titles from 500-strong studios. 2024 show a revitalized hunger for a smaller, more independent spirit. Arcade machine throwback UFO 50. The Metroidvania-esque...
Yo, that game roasted me so bad. UFO 50, I was surprised how much I got roasted in that game. That was wild. Animal Well's cool.
Animal Well, poker roguelite Balatro, and
amazing
text-based
game.
pixel art adventure The Crimson Diamond are just some of the games you'll see appearing again and again on these lists. Despite their numerous differences, they share one thing in common: a smaller, more refined experience that recalls earlier eras of gaming where marriages of mechanics and storytelling were key through technological craftiness, rather than literal country-sized game worlds. The nostalgia they create for older video games...
Exactly. Look, you know what these games have in common and the new AAA games don't? They're fun. They're fun. Buddy, they're fun. Play Assassin's Creed Mirage for the first hour And if you look me in the eye and tell me that that is a fun game, that is a fun first hour experience, you're a psychopath. Quite honestly, you are a psychopath. There's no way that that game is fun. And if you find that fun, more power to you. You haven't played a bunch of games. You just haven't. You're missing out, buddy. You're missing out, and I want you to play some games, okay? Because Balatro, you play Balatro, within 5 minutes, you get the loop, it's instantly fun. You play Vampire Survivors, you only use one thumbstick, and yet it's somehow addictive. Doom 2016, immediately fun, addictive. Halo 3, Halo 2, Halo 1, immediately fun. The Call of Duty, say what you will, immediately fun. You know? That's the thing. These smaller games just didn't forget about the fun. But not all of them. Some of them also forget. Like, look, I think Animal Well is really cool. It did not hold my attention. It did not hold my attention. In fact, I'd love to see the completion rate of Animal Well. It looks beautiful. They've done fantastic work on the game. But realistically, like, I didn't think it was fun. Like, I wasn't having as much fun as Vampire Survivors. You know, if we're going to put them side by side, one is dramatically more fun. But right now, like, I feel like there's not an interesting conversation about what's happening with games right now, because right now the discourse online is AAA games bad, indie games good. No matter what, AAA games bad, indie games good. So you can't say Animal Well doesn't hold my attention and Vampire Survivors is like fantastic. You can't say that Call of Duty is great gameplay and you know, Concord is bad. Like, you just can't say these things. You just can't have this like down the middle, like shades of gray conversation in gaming for whatever reason. I mean, just look at my tier list on my YouTube channel. You know, I got roasted pretty hard there for saying Sekiro's D, and yeah, so what if I'm bad? Concord, I haven't played it. I don't know if Concord's bad. Could be.
Generations are
Clearly
central
didn't
to the
hold
heart of
people's
their
attention.
creation. They just want you to pick them up and have a good time. The slow but increasingly clear pivot of video game audiences to a potential indie renaissance is a clear message to publishers that if everything is bigger and bolder, who possibly has the time and energy to play more than 1 or 2 games each year?
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
That's not to undercut the difficulty.
You know what's funny about that? The definition of insanity guy? Ubisoft has literally done that same thing. They just keep putting out the same game year after year after year, hoping for some different outcome.
In getting those independent titles made, mind you. UFO 50's Mossmouth LLC team consisted of 6 developers working over many years, while both Animal Well and the Crimson Diamond share similar stories of being crafted by solo developers, Billy Basso and Julia Minamata respectively, over several years. Even
Huge achievement, by the way. Not dismissing that. It just didn't hold my attention. But huge achievement. The fact that like Animal Well is under 30 megabytes it's actually insane, and more people should learn from what he did there, because it's wild.
a smash hit like Lethal Company started life as a one-man band developer Zeekers learning to develop games on Roblox before expanding his knowledge. All of these developers put everything they had over...
Lethal Company is actually a perfect example of like, it's something you learn in content creation where not like the world is a marketplace. Content is a marketplace of ideas, and not every idea is deemed equal. You know, certain things are more appealing to other people and will have virality baked in. You know, this is like the same thing. Like Lethal Company is a perfect example. Among Us is a perfect example. These are not expensive games, but the idea, the virality, the timing, these all matter. And so you don't have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, you can't tell me Among Us costs hundreds of millions of dollars, but it'd be a really good game for one of these AAA companies to test during the pandemic before something like an Among Us exists. You know, test these like tiny, tiny ideas. They explode. Can you imagine if Ubisoft took its devs, they just needed a break during the pandemic, and they just made Among Us really quick, published it? You know? Imagine if they were the first ones to do it. It'd be a huge win for them. And then they can expand on it. And you know they would. So it's just like, Content is a marketplace of ideas. Not every idea is worth the same amount. You don't need to spend $400 billion on some video game idea when another one that costs you, $10 is going to explode in popularity. Yeah, Rockstar is one of these things where Rockstar picked an idea that is so, like, if I went to your parents or your friends or anyone in your family assuming GTA didn't exist, and I said, I'm going to make a game that is a simulation of an entire city and you can do whatever you want in it. That's the pitch. That idea has such meat on the bones. Rockstar knows this. So they spend years making it perfect, because the more perfect they make it, the more close it gets to that stem of that idea, the root of that idea, and it's more sellable. And they've proven it time and time again. So if they just make a better version of that, it will sell. And they have effectively done that, taken their time, and done it over and over and over again. They don't even need to make any other games. They could effectively just keep going to GTA and Red Dead, and they'd be good for a while. They're the kings. I mean, if you look at my I Play Every Rockstar video, you'll see they slowly tested things as they eventually got bigger and bigger GTAs, They tested the Rage engine with the table tennis games. They tested the driving with the Midnight Club games and using Angel Studios. They tested all these things, the brawling mechanics of the Warriors. All these things. And they just kept sharing the tech, making Grand Theft Auto better, making it the main money-making machine. Rockstar's another company that used tests to its advantage. These other companies, not so much. Like there's no union in any of Microsoft's games. There's no union in any of Ubisoft's games. EA has got the sports stuff, but aside from that, not really.
Several years of their lives into creating these games, not in pursuit of money, but because of a passion. And this is why they don't need humongous worlds or 300 plus side quests to tick off. These games all feel like lean enjoyment machines. It feels like the top end.
It's another perfect example of like the ideas not being equal. Like when you have an idea that's really, really bankable, right? But it's done at a low level and it makes millions of dollars, billions of dollars. If you had an idea that you made a game that was a small game, not that expensive of a game, and it was consistently making billions over year over year, then in theory, if you made a high quality version of that very same game, 3D, whatever, made it look bigger, it should bang. Sure enough, for years, Nintendo's making Pokemon games. Tiny, 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 tiny. Slightly bigger, slightly bigger, slightly bigger buggy. And then Palworld comes out and just makes the big one. Goes gangbusters. The idea was there. The data was there. People wanted more monsters. It's there. Do the thing. It's wild. It's wild to me.
Into the video game industry is currently faced with two paths to choose from. The first is the status quo. It can continue to engorge on bigger budgets with impossibly open yet incredibly empty worlds filled with 80 plus hours of content, about 10 of which have any meaning to its players, and or hopelessly pursue the live service train which left the station over 5 years ago with late passengers wondering why the money isn't rolling in anymore. These billion-dollar gambles could pay off, but it's seeming less and less likely every day. Conversely, companies could opt for a second path and take a page out of Julia Minamata, Billy Basso, and Zeker's books. A wider breadth of projects, smaller in scope and scale, with a refined focus on gameplay mechanics, and perhaps a return to older styles of video games long dormant. Projects where developers aren't afraid to make weirder choices and take some unexpected left turns, lest they crash their $400 million ship into a mixed to decent reception and lackluster sales. Maybe studios, and more importantly publishers and shareholders, can remember that we used to play video games because they were fun, not because of their bigger than last year maps carpeted by denser.
People play them for multiple different reasons, and this is the reason why we did our game award nominations, which we're going to be touching on this Sunday. Or no, we're going to be touching on the winners of who you guys voted for the game awards, the Goosies, next Sunday, I believe. This is why we made a category for best gameplay and best experience, because sometimes you want different ones. Red Dead isn't necessarily the best playing game, but it's the best experience. Sometimes you can marry them both. I think Ghost of Tsushima is it's a marriage of both. But like Vampire Survivors would be like best gameplay. Like that's great gameplay. They're not the same. Sometimes you want both. Sometimes you want to be immersed. You know, when we were just playing body cam earlier, you're immersed. You're immersed in body cam. Is it the best shooting mechanics? No, it's probably like a Counter-Strike or something like that, you know? Depends what you're into. But it gets an extra bump because it's doing the immersion. But that only works if that type of person wants that. So there's place for both.
Higher resolution grass that you walk across to finish another piece of side content that pushes you just one digit closer to that 100% completion.
This wasn't the plan.
No, it just wasn't the one we started with.
Speaking of which, congratulations, you've almost 100%ed this video. What do you think needs changing in the games industry? You want bigger games or more games? Sound off in the comments below, and for everything gaming, you are already in the right place.
What did the comments even say? Dear God. You're telling me 300 million mediocre games devoid of risk and bloated with microtransactions aren't a sustainable business model? Devoid of risk? Buddy, they're all incredible risks. Maybe from service value, but for me, again, Concord, incredible amount of risk. If you said to me, like, yeah, I'm going to make Skull and Bones the pirate game, a brand new IP, and build everything from the ground up, take 10 years to build it instead of making Assassin's Creed Black Flag 2, I'd be like, that seems risky. What are you doing? If you came to me and you said, hey, I'm going to make a Star Wars game with like bounty hunters and stuff, and I'm just not going to use the really insanely hot and popular Mandalorian right now, I'd be like, why would you do that? Why? Why in God's name would you do that? If you came to me and you said, I'm going to be making a Prince of Persia game right now, but it's going to be a smaller Metroidvania, and we're going to sell it at a premium price, and we're not going to include the prince that everybody knows, I'd be like, what? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Why? Same thing could be said with Halos. So many of these things could be said, right? Like Overwatch 2, another example of just like insane, stupid risk. Like, why are you messing with the golden goose? Corporate greed, destroying every creativity and fun. It's not even corporate greed. Like, just look at the examples I told you. It's just, they're just being stupid. It's like corporate insanity is the problem. Because you could say Star Wars Outlaws is creative. You could say creating a new world of Skull and Bones is creative. Concord is definitely creative. But nobody wants that. Like there's two things. There's creativity, but you have to match it with like ideas that will go viral. And then again, not everything needs to go viral. Again, you can make a Jack 4. You can make a Daxter like sequel to the PSP game. You know, you can make a tiny little thing, sell it, $20, $30. It doesn't need to be this giant thing. It just doesn't. So yeah, the AAA video game bubble has burst. It has not burst yet. That is false. Will it burst? I don't know. What does that even mean at this point? Is that we're just throwing words around? Burst would mean like the industry dies. That's what it means. Effectively, what's going to happen is certain companies will die because they should die because they're not doing anything. The reason a company exists is it provides value to people. And if it's not providing value to people, effectively, it might as well be dead. It is a useless company. And a lot of these gaming companies, for whatever reason, seem to be very focused on not providing value, but providing like a bunch of like social stuff that they want forced on the consumer. Like we care. I'm sure some people care, but most of us just want to do shooty and movie. That's it. We're simple people. Crazy.